Hello, friends. This is Professor Googla. Today's video will be a little unusual, but I'm sure you will like it. So, get comfortable and let's go. Cambrian worms. Scientists have discovered long-legged worms in Canada. They were among the first filter feeders on Earth, filtering out organic particles with the bristles on their limbs. This is the conclusion reached by Canadian experts from the University of Ontario. The find was made in the early Cambrian Burgess Shale in British Columbia. Many ancient creatures were found there, which appeared during the Cambrian explosion, when all major groups of nowadays existing animals arose on Earth in a short period of time. In particular, from the Burgesses comes the famous Hallucigenia, a creature so unusual in appearance that initially scientists confused its back with the belly, and the head with the tail. However, it has recently become clear that Hallucigenia, judging by the structure of its claws, belongs to the modern velvet worms, and, along with pacifers and arthropods, is a member of the group Panarthropoda. Look no further and you'll learn the size of the largest dam built by beavers. Polar Bear Prison. On the coast of Hudson Bay there is a small Canadian town called Churchill. It is famous all over the world for the fact that there are a lot of polar bears here. On the one hand, this circumstance made the town extremely popular among tourists, but on the other hand, it became a real disaster for the residents of the town. The animals so tortured the inhabitants of the small town that they decided to re-educate them and created the world's only prison for polar bears. In the 1980s, a prison for polar bears was organized in the city. Initially, the facility, which was once a military base, could accommodate 20 troublemakers, but today the number of guests has increased to 28. All polar bears that appear in the city and pose a danger to residents are captured by a special service under the Ministry of Natural Resources Canada. Aggressive bears are put to sleep and transported to a prison for re-education. The bears are kept on a strict diet of only water. At the end of their stay, the bears are put to sleep again and sent by helicopter to the Gulf Coast. As practice shows, not all the offenders are rehabilitated, as the marked bears are caught by the ministry's staff again next year. Frozen Hare Contest. Every winter since 2011, people from all over the world head to Canada's northernmost Yukon Peninsula for the annual International Hair Freezing Contest, to come up with the most creative hairstyle, capture it in a photo and win a prize. In the Yukon Territory, the temperature reaches 22 degrees Celsius at this time. Fortunately, the event takes place in the Tahini Hot Springs, which keeps the competitors from freezing to death. The contest, now in its 10th year, has no set dates people can enter when the weather is cold enough for a quick hair freeze. However, the competition peaks in February. Daring participants immerse themselves in the hot springs of Tahini, where the water temperature is around 36–42 degrees Celsius. They then wet, contort and freeze their hair in the hope of getting the perfect photo. Participants in the cold event are advised to periodically dip their earlobes into the water to warm up. According to the rules of the event, all hair should be wet and the frozen hairstyle should be predominantly white. People are creating some absolutely insane looks. Many of them freeze beards, eyelashes, eyebrows and even body hair. Bubbles in the ice. The picturesque Canadian Lake Abraham is a man-made wonder. It was created during the construction of the Bighorn Dam on the North Saskatchewan River and was named after Silas Abraham, who lived in the area in the 19th century. The lake is a favorite spot for photographers, as its ice cover is speckled with patterns of frozen air bubbles. The reason for this natural phenomenon is very simple. Methane bubbles rise from the bottom of the lake to the already frozen ice edge. They freeze at different depths, which creates such an unusual visual effect. Methane is produced throughout the winter by plants that grow at the bottom of the lake. Although Lake Abraham is exceptionally beautiful, walking around it does not evoke pleasant memories for most photographers. Often winter temperatures at the foot of the Rocky Mountains are very low, about 30 degrees Celsius and icy winds, and there is almost no snow cover. Walking on the ice is not a pleasant experience at all, as its surface is riddled with cracks, and the dark bottom peeking through the threads of bubbles looks ominous. A sea of cranberries. Landscapes from flooded cranberry plantations in Canada are reminiscent of Martian landscapes. Where do such reservoirs of berries come from and how are they harvested? Everything is simpler than it really looks. Cranberries are planted in a previously prepared boggy lowland. As soon as the berry is ripe, The lowland is flooded and a special tractor is lowered into it, which cuts the berry underwater with a harvester and it floats up. Workers and harvesters of a different kind then come out to the lake to pick berries in one part of the reservoir and lift them to the shore. This method of harvesting is not chosen because of its scenic beauty. Flooding the area allows the site to maintain a waterlogged condition, which is necessary for cranberry growth, and picking berries from the water is more economical and incurs fewer production losses. Traditionally, cranberry picking is done by Sikhs. Maybe no one else is driven into the swamps, but it's more likely that their countrymen just happen to keep this business going. Either way, thanks to such a colorful hired force, this sea of red gets another +1 to colorfulness. A ship that rests at the bottom of the lake. The wrecked schooner Sweepstakes was built in 1867 and was designed to transport coal. It served for less than 20 years. In 1885, during a regular voyage, the ship hit a sandbank and sank. After the wreck, the schooner was attempted to be rebuilt, but was eventually scuttled as repairs were extremely difficult and expensive. The ship sank to the bottom of Crystal Clear Lake, Ontario, which is part of the Fathom 5 National Marine Park. Since then, the schooner Sweepstakes has been delighting tourists from all over the world for more than 130 years. The distance from the top edge of the schooner to the water surface is only 6 meters, which allows you to enjoy the spectacle without special equipment and diving underwater. Many people are interested in the question: how is it possible that the ship for 130 years did not fall apart in the water? Well, I will start with the fact that at that time they used very high-quality wood and prepared it for more than 1 year. Plus, at the end of the 20th century, the local rulers took care of the safety of the landmark by fastening the main elements of the ship with cables. And already at the beginning of our century, the administration surrounded the ship with protective fence, so that divers did not accelerate the process of destruction of the ship. The largest dam in the world built by beavers. Recently, a beaver dam was discovered in Buffalo National Park, which is astonishing in its size. Its length is 850 meters, and the construction of such a large structure began back in 1974. The beavers never swerved from the planned course, and continued to work until they finished the work about 5 years ago. For reference, the length of ordinary dams does not exceed 100 meters. The most interesting thing is that the dam could not be found for several years, and the story of its discovery is extremely interesting. One day, a geographer was researching climate change in northern Canada using Google Earth. What was his surprise when he saw something similar to a beaver dam from a satellite? Now you can feel the enormity of this project. If not, it is worth saying that 850 meters is the length of 8 soccer fields. With this dam, as with all others, beavers are making a huge contribution to the preservation of our planet's natural ecosystem. Where the dam is built, the area becomes waterlogged, which prevents it from being drained. It also expands the habitat of migratory waterfowl, which increases their population. Now the Canadian beavers are working on the expansion of 2 smaller dams, but this does not exclude that they will return to the old project and start enlarging it. It is quite possible that in a couple of years we will see a kilometer-long dam and beavers proud of themselves. Well, as I promised, the video was interesting. So, subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.